Hello and welcome back to my airline on AirlineSim Global Freightways, and it's going to be another update on my cargo airline. So I am sorry if you are interested in my British airline. My focus has nearly been fully on Global Freightways. Basically, I've been enjoying it so much. And I've got a couple of big things to talk to you through, but I think the first thing I'm going to go through is my weekend closing for the first proper week, where I've had the salaries, I've had the leasing arrangements. It's basically a full week that includes all the costs. And I hit 55 million in revenue. And this was a adjusted financial results, EBT of 4.6 million in my first week. And as you can see, this week so far, I'm about 3-4 days into it. I'm up to 1.645 million. My load factor is up to 82%, or it's dropped down to 81.78%. I'm making about 11,700 per flight, which is up from the previous week, and I think that's because of my new 767-200s that have been that have joined the fleet. So let's go into that first. So I noticed that I needed some more bigger planes. Now I had a handful of 767-300s, as you know, but there wasn't any 3-300s in the market. So if I show you very quickly 767s, there's no 767-300s on the market. Now I could order them new, but they cost me £500,000 a week in leasing rates. And a sizable upfront amount of money. Then I noticed the 767-200s down here. Now, these are old. On this server, these are old planes. And of course, the Dash 200s aren't as efficient. I think they've got an older type of engine than the 300s. Which makes them less fuel efficient, which obviously in the current climate, the fact that the fuel prices have jumped up from down here, which is about 20, doubled in the last month, obviously because of the war in Iran. So it was a risk. However, I thought to myself, well, personally, I love the Boeing 767-200s. I don't know if many aviation geeks have ever said that in their lives because it's a stubby looking plane. But for me, I've always liked them, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it's some form of like nostalgia or something, because I remember spotting with my dad when I was younger, and there was the US Airways had a fleet of like 8 Dash 200s that were only used to flying from America to Europe, and they used to fly into sort of smaller airports. So Manchester was one of them. So they didn't fly into, obviously Manchester's not a small airport, but not like a London or a Paris or an Amsterdam or something like that. They were used to sort of secondary cities. And I remember there was just one of them I never saw. Just for whatever reason, it just never came in when I was there. So I kind of liked them, and I thought, it's my airline, and I can do what I want. So I bought a fleet of 9 of them, and I've based them all throughout my hubs. One of them is based at Anchorage. Let me show you the reason why I got them. So if I go here, this is Global Freightways flight from Anchorage to Rockford. Global Freightways 920, and it comes in early morning, and this is the reason why. 300 cargo units transferring through, and there's lots of these routes across my network. So off the top of my head, Anchorage basically to any of my main hubs just fills up, and the 737s were doing a good job, but it was saying like 179 cargo units full, then 179 units going on to other flights, which means obviously there's more demand there to transfer through. I mean, this 300 here, that's 3.5-8s full of cargo. That's 2 737s full of cargo. Done. Transferred through Rockford. And I shoved them on all of these routes. So I think, well, we can see a couple here. There's one there going Alliance Fort Worth to Anchorage. I'll get onto my Alliance Fort Worth hub there. There's one. Is that one here? Yeah. So the 767X is the 200s. That's Ontario to Rockford. That's flying up over into Rockford. There. Rockford to Louisville. Louisville to Miami. There's a 767 that runs that every day. Yeah, so on sort of 8 or 9 of these sort of trunk routes, which are just getting heavy demand, I've switched to a 767-200, and they're making money. And of course, look at that, 22,000 profit per flight. Can't ask for much more than that. So I'm very happy with that decision. It could have backfired, and if it did backfire, I would have just got rid of them, and I would have bit the bullet and got a brand new 767-300 instead. But yeah, they've worked really well so far. Now on to my other news, and both bits of these news is actually, it's 2 bits of news, all come around my new gateway hub. Now my new gateway hub is at Alliance Fort Worth Airport. Now right next to Dallas Fort Worth here, someone sort of street view here. This is an airport that in real life is just a cargo hub, only has cargo flights. Ooh, 767-200s. Yay. Yeah, so that's the Amazon Prime bit there. I think over here is FedEx. Yeah, there's like some feeder flights there with nothing on the deck there. And I don't know if anything... Oh, it's an MRO, which is maintenance provider. Yeah, but if you look at this entire area outside this airport, though, I mean, look at this. Is that a cargo train? Well, I mean, look at these are one of those massive trains, isn't it? Look, that's a train going up there. Yeah, and if you look all around, I mean, look at this. These are all warehouses, and look at this, Amazon and ITS Logistics and Dollar General, Southwire, Walmart. Yeah, so it's a realistic cargo hub as well, which is obviously part of the reasoning in my brain. I like to have a sort of story, it to be realistic. But that wasn't the reason why I chose to do it. The reason why I chose to do it is because there's nobody hubbing in this area in America. So there's airlines at all the other hubs, including myself, obviously, but there isn't any in this area of the country, sort of Texas area. And I was looking at the ORS system, which on the game is the online reservation system, which basically shows you all the connections and routes that a potential package could do. And I was looking here, and it was basically saying that it would have to connect from Denver to El Paso. It might, cargo packages were having to go around everywhere. So if you wanted to go from Portland to Austin, like they'd have to go like down to, I don't know, down here, then over there, and because no one's here, there's no quick one stop for all these airports here. So I just decided, right, I'm going to go for it, and I went all in on Alliance Fort Worth. I kind of fell in love with the airport when I researched it myself behind the scenes. In fact, it's an all cargo airport, and the area around is all cargo. I just loved it. So I went all in on it, and I happy to report it's been, I'd say it could have gone better, but definitely a success. Like, for example, let's just pick this one. Yeah, every flight full, done. And I put the first sort of 30 planes in, and I think the load factor was under 60%, under 70%, like 64. And when I realised that, I did my next thing. Redtail Aviation, which is my new regional feeder airline. And it's called Redtail Aviation because Global Freightways has a red tail. And at the moment, it's based at Alliance Fort Worth, but this will be my sort of main feeder airline for the entirety of America, basically. I did a lot of research into the right aircraft, and the cheapest aircraft to run on the game and is the General Atomics Dornier 228 NG. So if I go here, the whole point of it is they fly from really small airports around mainly Texas, around the base here, and then they connect onto a global Freightways flight. So see here, external connection, that means it's going on all 17 of the 19 is going onto a flight on my main line. And I've only done the Dorniers at the moment. Here's San Angelo here. As you can see, some flights make a loss, and that's absolutely fine. This airline isn't meant to really make money. If I can break even or make a profit, that's just a bonus. It's all about connecting, 50 these cargo units into the Alliance hub. So some flights make money, some flights don't, but there's another 16 units that are going into my planes in my mainline that there weren't before. Of course, and I'm going to have Cessna 48 SkyCouriers and ATRs, and all of these are going to be based at Alliance Fort Worth, but eventually they'll be based out of Rockford, Louisville. There'll be a fleet at Ontario. Everywhere that I have a base going forward, we'll have a fleet of these helping out, going to all the regional airports as well. And since making those Dornier 228s, this has now gone up to over 70%, up to 74%, which is absolutely brilliant. So that's the reason. That's the reason why that. And, quite quickly on, my Alliance Fort Worth hub has turned into, it's the second biggest hub in terms of planes based at there. So there's 3 767s based there, several 737s, lots of Dash 8s. So it's, in terms of that, obviously RFD has 17, so Rockford has 17, but it has a lot more, planes flying in and out of there because a lot of these in my Louisville hub, sort of dual hub at Rockford. And obviously Ontario's a little bit smaller, lagging behind, does need a bit of love, which is something that I'll be doing in the future. But yeah, it's going really well. I'm making money, I'm making profits. My ultimate goal at the moment is to get the cargo load factor above 85%. That's my next goal. And then the ultimate goal is to get it over 90. I want to get revenue per flight up to 12,500. And I want to at least create one more hub, which most likely is going to be Miami. Maybe. And I might create a couple of regional hubs on each coast. So I might pick one of these airports up here and have a little bit of a regional hub. Maybe with the help of Redtail Aviation. But yeah, that's the update. So thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed, do like, do comment as well, because apparently that helps the algorithm to push the video out. And if you are on the server, do let us know. Send us a message. What? I just realised, what's this -8 doing? Birmingham to Memphis. Not entirely sure when I did that flight, but yeah, anyway. And why is there no, like, literally, Louisville is my main airport. Why is there no planes? There's literally just this plane, which is Fort Worth to Daytona. So where's all my location? Oh, they're all on the deck. It must be coming up to my, yeah, it's coming up to my massive wave. So basically all of these planes are about to take off from SDF. Let's have a look at departures. Yeah, there you go. Anything interesting? Got, mostly -8s. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I just sort of noticed there was no flights around my main two hubs, but it's because of the time of the day. I'm guessing Rockford's the same. No, they're all out of Rockford, of course. So when they're in at SDF, they're out of Rockford, aren't they? But yeah. Anyway, I'm waffling. Again, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.